video, but I'll show you this little trick I do to put this chrome on here. You need to drill about a 3/8 drill, and when you put any kind of trim on your truck, I've learned the hard way by buying chrome. You want to get stainless. This says SS for stainless. Always get the SS, don't get the CR for chrome. And that way you understand if you are in, say, truck shows and all that, then you would go ahead and get chrome, or live in California never leaving it, you would do that. But if you live in Wisconsin, or if you go through snow all the time, you're going to battle the rust problems. But with this trim here, you can see it works out pretty good. It still looks like chrome. It's not as polished, but it's the same look, and it'll never rust on you. It's actually stainless steel, and it costs more. That's the only problem about it. But once you buy it, even caps, anything, it would be stainless steel. And if you get chrome, then you're going to end up replacing it at least 2 times a year, and the rust starts right away. And you have to steel wool it. Once you steel wool it, you got to really make sure it's moist so it doesn't scratch. So it's just better to go ahead and get stainless so it's there for years. The only time you would have to really replace it is when you are neglecting it and not wiping it down, and you would get this kind of fading with it. But other than that, you would want to straddle your mud flap. You don't really look at it. I do it upside down first to get the edge. And when you do this edge here, you want to go right where before it starts curling down, because this mud flap's not the square ones. These are a little bit rounded. But when the suspension problem I had, it lowered. So I went ahead and I'm eyeballing it to see the bottom, and that will be rubbing the ground, not this metal. So I'll win on that one. But right before it starts curling, that's the edge you want, and then you eyeball to see the bottom to really see how much you have here to play with. Once you see that, then you turn it around, and you do this before you actually clean the mud flap, and you eyeball both sides to get the edge, and to make sure it's square, and you eyeball the bottom edge to see what kind of distance you have, and you look straight on both ends to make sure that it's centered. And then you rub it a little bit up and down. And I take the nuts and washers off, but I put the rubber back on. There's a rubber part. You probably can see me in here. But you would rub the top up and down just a little bit. And once you're done, then it shows your screw, your drill marks. This one I want to go a little bit more. But you put this right over these drill marks. It works out pretty good. And just move it just a little bit so the dirt exposes the drill marks, as you can see. And you keep your fingers away, and you just drill right over that mark. These are plastic mud flaps, but I like the rubber ones, though it's pretty well the life of the truck. But this one's pretty good. It's thick enough. It's got the stuff that holds, it's splash guard, so it stops any debris. on the other side. It's almost like a carpet. But you want to drill through. And the 3/8 is pretty good. That way you don't have to be too accurate. You got the holes, the washers on the back will be alright. Then you take the rubber back off of the threads. And once you're done with the drilling, then you go ahead and wipe off this area. Once I get the truck washed, then all this will be cleaned. But you want to get all the dirt and everything off. And this will be covered anyways, but it'll never see day again once you cover it. And this would be the life of this truck, would be this stainless chrome weight, they call it. And this will hold the mud flap straight instead of having a curl and start warping. It fits really nice on here. If you eyeball it, see, it gets right to the edge where I wanted it. And that way it looks really nice. And then on the back end, you put your washers and your nuts. You have your shiny side and the flat side of the washer. You put the flat side on the inside with your nut. And it's just a 1/2-inch wrench. I usually do wrench because you don't want to overdo it. Because once you overdo it, it'll put a little dent on the inside, and you regret it. And it's just snug. You don't want to go over tight because it pulls the bolt itself away from the chrome, and it puts a little divot in there, and you'll always see that. And it's really sad when you realize what you did. You over tightened it. But you just want to go snug, and a wrench is better. The socket, you start wrenching too hard, and all of a sudden you overdid it, and you just want it snug. And then you put these caps over the threads, and it looks really nice. I do the inside first, so I don't have to crawl back in. But that's all it takes is a drill and 3/8 drill bit. 5/16 is being really accurate. And of course you gotta clean up your mess. It's not your property. And then you do the middle and then the end. You don't want to do both both ends first because it'll wrinkle, and you want to push it all flat. So you start with one end or the middle first, but so you don't have to crawl in again. You just do the inside first. And then you just go ahead and tighten it and make sure it's just snug and not over tight. It just lays flat right on the mud flap. And it works out pretty good. And just snug. You don't want to just crank on it because you're not really using anything of it. But just for a touch-up class. And once I have my license plate in the middle and the chrome trim on the ends, the back looks a lot better once it's disconnected. You look at the whole truck, it looks really sharp. But this is all you have to do. I have problems with suspension, so it's good to have a little bit of rubber on the bottom because it's got a radical curve on the bottom instead of just a flat. So it'll rub on that instead of metal to the ground. And you just go ahead and tighten this and put the rubber cap on. And that's it, and then just wait for the next truck wash, and it'll look really nice. And it'll always look like this because it's SS stainless steel. You just want to go snug, nothing else. But I've had these for a while. It's been bumping around in the sleeper compartment, so I can see a little bit of this. But once it's washed, I'll go ahead and re-wipe it down. And it'll look really nice back here. See all this was rubbing on the ground. And then you put the rubber cap on. Sure, I get that. There it is. There. That way the inside looks pretty good. See, that's what it looks like on the inside, the rubber caps. That's what it looks like on the inside, so it doesn't look really bad. It looks part of the truck, where you got three of these rubber, and that covers the thread so it doesn't rust off, so you can actually take it back off to replace it. But the only time you would replace it is if you hit something, especially a tire in the middle of the road, and it bends it, and then you want to take it off and get one that's more flat. You can rebend it, but it's never perfect. And if you don't wash it all the time, it'll haze up on you. But that's what it looks like. Both sides looks really nice now. Make sure I clean my mess up there. That way, once this is all washed, this whole back will look really nice. And it's all uniformed. It doesn't look like just one little chrome license plate bracket in the back. And it's all black, so you can see the uniformity here. When you get your license plate bracket, make sure you get stainless steel SS on it, not chrome. It's cheaper to get chrome, but you'll regret it. It just becomes that way. This is nice because it has chrome rings around the lights, so you want to always wipe them down. In the back here will be the first to really turn where it gets flat and it doesn't shine no more. So you want to always keep it up. There, now it's all uniformed. And once it's washed, the reflectors on here, it's nice to get chrome ones, but it's a stock company. But that's how you do that when it comes to this. It's about the last thing I can really do. Everything else is polishing aluminum and dress all the plastic, because there's so much plastic on this truck. It comes outside, and you just keep it up. Every time you go to California or Florida, then you just really wipe down the chrome. That's all I can really do to this truck. It's not like a Peterbilt with all the different trims you can put. I just put a touch of glass, so I don't overdo it. But that looks really nice. But I can just polish the inside of the aluminum rims here. That's about it for this. And I'm working on polishing this box. Of course, it's dirty. This deck plate I can polish. And dressing all this plastic and the bottom. And all this plastic, it could be all dressed. The tires and the caps dressed. And the handle, that's plastic. Once I get my new cap here, all this has to be dressed. And that's it. And this paint here has a different wax on it. And then the steps, I work on the aluminum and the front rims for polishing. Everything else is just about dressing it and making sure it doesn't dry up, because it'll turn gray. They call it turning white, but really it turns into really a gray. It's all plastic. But once you dress it and keep washing it every week and work on the aluminum I just pointed out, there's really nothing left. I got a little bit of rust that I'm going to be working on to make sure I get that off. Looks like I can hand wipe it off. But I noticed as the currents, and you want to make sure you always make sure it doesn't sit there and keep rusting. I watch all those so it always looks good. These bull guards cost a lot of money, and you always want to make sure they look new. And once you place with another truck, then you swap this bull guard with the new one. So I even dress the inside mounts so it's always looking black. But it's going to be about 40 degrees out, so you see what you need to dress. And aluminum is just getting the rims. Caps, these are the plastic ones. Alcoas. Dressing steps. Polishing the steps. Dressing as you can see, I've been working on it. When I was in Florida, I did. That's why it's got a little shine to it. But when going through Wyoming and all the storms in Nebraska, see all this. And then I worked on this tank and polishing that up. And that's about it. That's the smallest area you can do. But it's just a touch of class. And dressing the quarter fenders. And polishing the inside. Just a little bit of this aluminum. But it's just, it makes a big difference. If you don't do it, it really looks bad. And then dressing these caps and tires. But now I got the mud flaps done. That's it for the project. There's nothing really you can do on Cascadias. And the back itself, you can see the Marine Corps license plate, and that's stainless. And then the two stainless edges. Once it's all washed up, it's really square. And when you look back, it really widens the truck. It doesn't look too skinny with just black mud flaps. It really looks sharp. And the light rings there really show off. And once it's washed and reflector tapes, that will look really nice. I like the plastic reflectors go underneath it, but this is stock. And then after the snow and all that, they'll put the center bracket back on. That's in the middle here for aerodynamics. But that's what you got here. But it's going to be in the 40s now, so I made it through the cold. And this winter front really did good. It really saves your life from really being frozen out there in the middle of nowhere when it shuts down. And a lot of people say, no, you're alright, but you're risking your life and you want to keep this engine warm. And you don't want the snow and freezing rain and fog, all that builds up. And the more you see your defroster on your windshield, and there's a bug screen in the front and it's away from the radiator, so it can't really thaw. And it'll get thicker and thicker until it's packed with ice. And then your turbo needs this cooler in the front. And you'll see this bug screen here will just be full of ice. And the whole thing will be covered. And all of a sudden your engine fan will just keep going off. And it's really hard on the turbo cooler itself, the intercooler. And that's all in the front. It's a lot of pressure and a lot of air. But it's a good truck. It really does good. It's a good money maker. When you buy something that's expensive, you better be on the road making money to pay it off. But fog lights really work really well. The other guys just they just have white, but I like to make sure that it's useful for me instead of just putting more white on the ground. But that's about it here. Put this away for the season unless I get into more cold, which I probably will. It's the 1st of March. Once you get into April, it's not going to be that cold, but we did have below zero weather. About 22 below, to be honest. And that really makes it very dangerous. So you want to make sure that you're always safe. And you're not driving with white knuckles and stressing at the ulcers, thinking that this will shut off any second when you're prepared by using this equipment. It really works out pretty good. And make sure it's always there and handy for you to grab. Other than that, that's my only project. Everything else is keeping it up. Attention to detail. That's all it's about. So you look good out here. And this will always look brand new if you just keep at it. It's only $190,000 for this tractor. So you might as well take care of it just like you do at your house. It costs about that much. And you got to mow the lawn every week. And same thing with this. If not, it will just be one of your lists that You do, and you can't put love and appreciation in it when it just looks really crappy. If it looks brand new, everything's easier to work on, and it's fun to drive, and that's the main thing about it is finding a job that you love.